Chapter 1-0. The divine world differs only in its appearance and form, depending on one's religion, and not in any other way. The basis is almost the same. In the world of shamanism, the existence of a shaman acts as a fast between God and people. The whole meaning is contained in the word shamanism. First, we draw strokes from the top and from the bottom to draw the sky and earth and build people on both sides of the border that connects it. These are the living and the departed. A person who coexists between life and death needs a common compromise and sometimes wants to hear intimate stories. And exactly, the shaman stands on the border between the living and the dead and carries the providence of heaven and earth. They store in their mouths are the secrets of the world, and whether they illuminate as much as the sky allows them to know. A tambourine rang by itself. The old man announced that the end of the world had come. He turned to the young man, calling to listen to him carefully and saying that Maitreya will open his eyes to his sacrifice. Their wisdom can both save and kill people. For the sake of the celestial sage calls, the foursomes show the cold truth and a world that doesn't lie to the truth. They are the ones who carry on their own. They have a great burden on their shoulders, so they must do their duty and light the way. The elder, he urges us not to forget his words, because this will be their path and light. He starts with the twins, born overnight. This is not a coincidence at all, because this is the fate of two children. Girl, become the incarnation of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, who embraces the pain and suffering of the entire world, and the mother of life after the divine Shang Nun. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, a bodhisattva who heals other people's wounds and pain by sacrificing himself. Shen Nong is the second of the three rulers of China. He is called the founder of agriculture and medicine. The boy will be the father of the warriors of heaven, raise up heavenly martial arts, learn the technique of fencing with a sword, which will give birth and saves the dead. After that, the elder turns his attention to a small boy who is with. Everyone is waiting for a prediction of their fate. The man says that the fate of everything is in his hands. Humanity, the living and the dead will flock to him an infinite number of times and all the time. Confusing. The moment he loses something really valuable and discards it, then he can open his eyes. There will be many death threats and temptations, but the sage calls. Just keep your eyes open and be careful. He is not him and yet he is him. Countless observers will be watching for. With each of his choices, the boy is either destined to save this world, or he is destined to destroy it. Chapter 1-1. The hero is driven into garbage bags. One of the kids asks why Nakbin didn't tell him that his mother was a shaman. Another kid notices that for some reason it seemed to him that something strange started happening after the new kid came to school. At last, when Grandma Hyasung said that she was going to die, the person who just looked at him was fainted out of the blue. The hero is grabbed by the collar, asking if it was because of him that he was then. I got hurt. Nakbin is called to account, and he only gives a negative answer, not knowing how to behave. Justify. Then the teacher grabs the raging boy by both hands, pulling him away from the hero. This surprises the brawler, and the girl only reminds that she told them not to quarrel. The boy, he breaks out, saying that it's not like that, because last time he hurt his ankle and suffered a lot, and he considers the hero guilty because his mother is a shaman. The teacher asks, "Stop Young Chul," telling him to think about his friend. The boy pauses, and then a woman approaches Nakbin, asking if he is okay. Here she is surprised by the hero's reaction. That he falls to his knees, starting to cry and saying that he really didn't do anything, but just, "I wanted to play with my friends at school." The children fall silent. They feel sorry for the boy. Walking to school, the girl yawns from drowsiness. Last night, she couldn't sleep a wink because of the rain. Worry, because the boy was crying so hard, and Nakbin really wanted to go to school. The teacher, she would like to find a common language with children, but she doesn't understand why Nakbin is constantly around. Something strange is happening. When the teacher enters the classroom, she sees the same boy. "I couldn't sleep a wink last night." Next to him is a woman who is she looks like a child. The hero breaks into the teacher's arms. The latter is at a loss, so he asks why they came so early. The woman says she is sorry that it's too soon. She turns out to be Nakbin's mom, who wants to talk to her son's teacher. A child. The boy is put out in the corridor, and the fair sex remains in private. The teacher is a little worried, because the interlocutor has hanbok and collected hair. She can't believe there are people who dress like that these days. The girl also notices the elegance of her student's mother, like an actress in a historical drama. The hero's mother starts the conversation by saying that she has heard that Nakbin was bullied by children. The teacher is lost for a few moments, but quickly takes control of her emotions, telling her that there really was a little fight because she didn't follow up. Nakbin's mother. He says he's not going to blame her for this. The girl also explains that she does not have children either. He tries to scold her, but she thinks it happens on a regular basis. So she casually asks what it would be like for a child to leave school. The teacher jumps up and down her chair, noting that she can't let that happen. The hero blushes when he hears this, even in the hallway. After all, the teacher speaks quite loudly. The teacher states that you can't, and then asks for forgiveness because she didn't understand it, and from now on she will teach them well. From now on, the boy's mother recalls her words that she doesn't try to blame her, and she would teach him everything. The teacher tries to convey to the mother that it is not only important for children to learn, because they learn the world through children of their own age. This is too much for adults, and, moreover, Nakbin. He wants to go to school. The girl recalls that Nakbin came to school 2 months later. Other children, because his mother was against it. So that the boy still goes to school. The girl. I had to write letters several times to convince her. The hero's mother still decides to ask, does she know whether the mistress knows what she does? The teacher hesitantly gives a positive answer, after which the woman says without hesitation that it's all because she's a shaman. It's important for her to know whether children will be good with Nakbin. Teacher with a bright smile gives a positive response, after which the girl agrees not to pick up her son from school yet. What? But in the next instant, her eyes widen in horror and she turns her head to stare at him. To the window. The teacher looks at her blankly. The girl wants to know why her mother suddenly behaved like this, but the woman touches the glass. Feeling a strange energy, she realizes that this is due to Nakbin. At this time, somewhere on the playground next to the trash can, a kid kicks a ball at the waste bags, shouting like everyone else. Annoyed. The boy doesn't understand how he can ask him to be his friend after something like this. He remembers that when they were playing soccer, he was driving the ball. In an instant, it was as if his leg had something invisible grabbed him, causing him to cry out and fall. His friends immediately ran up to him, asking why he had suddenly fallen, what was wrong with him, and whether he had twisted his leg. Someone notes that this is very sad, because the goal was still very close. Someone from the crowd shares the opinion that it is true that Nakbin's team will win, no matter what. The hero, coming to the victim, asks if he is okay. He has something else to say, but the victim asks if he's summoned a ghost. Someone from the hero's team says that young Qialiu is worth it. Be ashamed of your words. The boy clenches his teeth until they creak, and then hits the ball with all his might, shouting that it wasn't his fault. The child bends down, trying to catch his breath. He calls Nakbin a coward, saying that all this is because of him. At this moment, a dark car approaches the guy from behind. An entity consisting of multiple hands. The boy gets angry, saying they'll see if he gets away with it. At this moment, a huge dark entity appears behind the boy. He notices her dark red hands start to reach for him, and the boy closes his eyes, unable to fight back. When he opens his eyes, trying to recover, he sees Nakbin in front of him, closing them. Your body. The demon is happy to meet the boy, although he does not understand why the little shaman. I came out here. The monster, laughing, unleashes its dark power on the child, deciding to play with it. The little shaman, the same, gives a cold answer that he does not want, releasing his power from the body and discarding the entity. Nakbin declares that he will not play with him. Then his mother and teacher come running around the corner. The woman freezes in place, watching that scene, and the hero rejoices at the appearance of the mother. The teacher, on the other hand, stares in amazement at the ghost, whose shadow disappears right before her eyes. On her, tears come to my eyes, and I can see the horror in my eyes. In her mind's eye, she finally realizes that the children were telling the truth. Chapter 1-2. The dark essence almost completely disappears. The boy falls to his knees, shivering and crying in pain. Disbelief. Behind him is a small clot of that dark essence. A hero with his mother. They immediately notice it. Nakbin tries to grab him with his hand as the boy screams in horror. However, he is intercepted by a woman. It releases its aura from the body, forming a spiritual warrior behind you. Under such pressure, a small remnant of the dark entity breaks down from the spot, starting to run away. The girl understands that this is the work of the devil. She is happy that the child, I'm fine, but there will be problems with the teacher now. The hero turns to the teacher, asking if she saw it. The next day, the teacher, sitting at his desk, trying to recover. She remembers yesterday's events, trying to figure out what happened to young Chul yesterday. She remembers the children's words about Nakbin. She can summon ghosts, but she doesn't believe the boy could do such a thing. Herein, a plump man walks in, asking where this shamanic classroom is. Director. Everyone looks back at the newcomer, who is dragging Nakbin by the ear. Then that's it. They look at the teacher, and the man asks why she doesn't care about protection, her children, and what a game she was playing with ghosts. Behind Nakbin is Young Chol, who has a big smile on his face. A guilty expression remains on his face. The hero is dragged directly across the floor. The man points a finger at the girl, recognizing her as a class teacher and asking how she lets this shaman child go to school. The man believes that she survived from mind. A disgruntled fat man throws the hero on the floor and says that he is not the only one who thinks so. After all, Young Chol also saw ghosts because of this kid. The man declares that he will soon reach, that the kids won't even be able to urinate, so what will the parents say? The teacher leans forward, above the tilt that slowly takes a sitting position. On the noise in the room comes a bald, middle-aged man. This is the headmaster. The man is very angry. Director. She approaches him, asking him why he did this and what kind of ghosts he is talking about. At the same time, the old man urges the other person to calm down. The same person reacts very sharply, not understanding what it means. Calm down. He calls for the child shaman to be kicked out of school. Nakbin cries as he looks at his son, a teacher who's shaking all over. At this time, a crowd of children gathers at the entrance to the office, who have already started working on the project. Whispering among themselves, one of them raises his hand to the ceiling, claiming that he saw how. Nakbin speaks to the air. Some of the kids remember that Sunghee's mom died in the hospital last time. He remembers Nakbin saying that the ghosts were joking and he was talking to himself. They remind you that Young Chol fell during a game of football, when it would seem that nothing happened. Foreshadowed it. The teacher notes that anything can happen, but we need proof that he was the one who did it. The man states that what Young Chol and the other kids said is, or the teacher doesn't understand that everyone is saying the same thing. Director encourages teacher Choi to quickly apologize. Nakbin grabs the teacher's arm. He shakes his head, indicating to the girl that he had nothing to do with it. Past apologizes to the man, admitting the fact that she failed to do the proper training. The boy can't believe his ears, but the teacher urges Nakbin to hurry up and apologize. The boy does not want to apologize for something that is not his fault, and then the teacher repeats her words, more demanding and loud, adding that if he did something wrong, he should apologize. Young Chol hides behind the man and responds to the hero's pleading look with a negative nod. Nakbin is met with disapproving stares from all sides, and the teacher is on her knees. Without looking up, he somehow manages to say that he's sorry, starting to cry. When everything is ready, they leave the teacher's room. The girl gathers her courage and calls the boy's mother, saying that the children, they're afraid of Nakbin, and the ghosts and stuff keep coming, like falls and injuries. Mom decides, check whether the teacher says that her child injured another child. She nervously gives a positive response, noting that this is typical of children. Namely, she was told that Young Chol, I fell because of Nakbin. The mother also says that when she spoke on the phone earlier, Nakbin, he said it wasn't like that. The teacher says that children always speak in their favor. Girl says she hoped Nakbin would adjust well to school, but she also has to be responsible for the safety of other children. The teacher points out that this can't go on forever, so Nakbin needs it to try hard, and she, as his mother, should help him in this. The hero's mother feels a hint of fear in her voice, the voice of the other person, which is why he asks what the teacher is so afraid of. Not hearing an answer, the mother, he asks another question about what she saw then, and then explains that since Nakbin and they were close to each other, they could see each other for a while, but she was bigger. He won't see anything. The teacher tries to say something, but the woman interrupts her, saying that ignorance breeds fear, and fear breeds delusion, so she is afraid of it, because that he does not know and does not see, but this fear eventually becomes a vain delusion. The mother claims that out of fear she turned away from the truth and was blinded by lies, even looking in the mirror, the eyes of a child who says no, even though they were talking on the phone. But the teacher, she could feel her mother's reproachful gaze on her. The shamaness closed her eyes and calmed down, stating that she believes her son can live the life of an ordinary person. However, she is not the one who help her child. The girl says that she will look for another way, and then hangs up, thanking the woman for everything. The teacher clutches her head in frustration. The woman hears the gate open. She goes out into the courtyard, happy for Nakbin's return. She says that she's finished talking to the teacher, so she asks if he's okay. It's just a lost look. He looks up at the only person close to him, asking him why everyone hates him. She doesn't know what to say to him, and in front of the child's eyes, tears start to fall, and then he reveals that he just helped Young Chul, and they told him he didn't want to do anything, but he couldn't watch evil spirits take over his friends, so he didn't want to do anything. He'd done it wrong, or maybe he shouldn't have been friends with them at all. The woman goes down to your child, saying that all this is not fair because they do not see all of it. She takes it. Bina takes his hand, offering to start studying with her again, and he will return to school later. To the next, the woman freezes in place for a moment. The boy exudes a monstrous aura. Shamanka. She crouches down next to him, realizing that unlike the abilities she had before, she can't be bothered. But still, more and more gods are trying to contact Nakbin. It decides that I have to stop this. The shaman decides to perform a ritual of summoning the gods so that they can meet them and make an appointment in person. The shaman puts on a costume, starting to perform the ritual. She dances, calling for no one to see her come because she invited a precious guest. The hero is sitting on his knees in front of icons of various deities. The mother mentally notes that it would be good if he lived a normal life. She clasps her hands together in a prayer gesture and raises them to the sky along with her mother, with his head, deciding that he would plead and propitiate the gods with all his might, even if nothing happened. It will come out. The girl bows her head, and the boy feels something strange. From the sky directly to their home, a strange stream of energy in the form of stars descends. The shaman raises her head, and then he grits his teeth because there are already so many gods. With her head bowed, the mother asks how this child will be able to handle so much divine creatures. She begs you to come to her because Nakbin is more precious to her than her whole life, right? And she'll be happy to have them all. The Goti deity reports that the gods who came to this child has the dignity of a great universe, since it dares to resist. The girl looks up, not understanding who he is to judge so quickly. He's the spirit of Tangun, Wang Dong, son of Huang Woon and founder of the state of Gajosian, patron saint of the Baekdu people. Divinity Yu informs that her son will be visited by all the ancestors of the Baekdu people, and on the day of the prophecy, the ancient god, the king will pass through the body of this child and tell about the beginning and end of the world. All this already. It's predetermined, so there's no point in being a simple person, so they just have to wait. A day of destruction and obey your fate. Chapter 1-3. The shaman decides to address a question to the ancient gods, asking why they are here now. They responded, because she was waiting for them all the time when they and her people were suffering. She doesn't understand why they had come to her son's house. The deity points out that she herself knows perfectly well that she is not. The gods made them suffer, and the humans themselves, but the shaman still doesn't understand where they were, or why. They did not correct their false prophecy that the Most High God would appear, and did the father really? The child was just a normal tool for them. Nakbin gets tense when it comes to his father. The deity informs that even if she is offended, it will not change anything, because when this child was born, and Mount Baekdu woke up and shook so violently that the entire earth was shaken. It hurt, which meant the baby wasn't hers. Tears are running down my mother's cheeks. She grits her teeth until they grate, admitting that she didn't think it was too greed to want to. Her son lived a normal life. She would have sacrificed everything to make it happen. However, this child is constantly caught in various whirlpools of fate. He's not just a shaman. His entire life will be taken away by those who want power, just as it was done to him. Mother can't let that happen. She calls upon her power to appear before you immediately. The same armored warrior appears from behind. It is aware that since the child is still small, it will be difficult for him to maintain this state for a long time, so she will not miss it. Opportunities to expel it. The essence of a fierce warrior appears before the hero, who he understands that his mother has decided to fight God. The latter notices that this is stupid decision. A dark force envelops the body of Nakbin, after which the deity calls the shaman. Stop it, because she couldn't beat him now. The boy staggers, and his eyes take on a golden hue. The deity declares that it is complete. Stronger than ever, Zhao Jihan appears behind the hero. This is a huge warrior with a crown on his head. His head was covered with a thick gray beard. In ancient China, he was revered as the god of war. Shamanka. He freezes in place, not understanding what Zhao Jihan is doing here. Her body is shaking with fear, and I'm starting to wonder how she can even fight such a man. A powerful god. The girl clenches her fingers into a fist, noting that even if she can't, she must defeat him. The mother calls on her baby not to give in to the deity and fight. God also asks the girl to retreat, because no shaman could give him such a gift. The representative of the beautiful cannot deny this, but she calls for letting her go. A child, or she won't back down. The deity says that it's not worth it, after which he asks if she doesn't know the fate of his son. The shaman gives a negative answer, mentally noting that it is impossible to do more. Delay it. She pulls out strange golden bells from her bosom, thinking that if two of her warriors, if they unite, she will have a chance to win. She invokes the god of the sword. It's a man with gray hair, skin, tattoos of fish and flowers on the body, long white hair and pointed ears. The girl asks him to help her. He notes that it will be an uphill battle, but he will try. With these words, his body transforms into a katana, which the second warrior grabs. The shaman's wife. She asks the invincible gods to lend her their power. After that, her warrior takes off, about to pierce the war god's body with his katana. A powerful swing of the katana is blocked with a bare hand, on which a spiritual shield appears. Warrior. The shaman retreats, startled by the fact that his attack was blocked with his bare hands. The girl is begging, "I want them to be more careful." As soon as the warrior lands on his knees, he has to jump to the side, because the hand of the god of war falls to the ground in the place where he was. A moment earlier, the ancient god calls them impudent creatures, and just like an ordinary one, the armed god tried to rebel against him. The deity in the boy's body surges forward, saying that he will send all of them to hell. The shaman notices that the enemy has a weapon, and this means that now there is no chance of defeating him directly. She once again prays to God to help her, however. He resolutely refuses. A huge sword slams down on the girl's warrior. That takes a blow on the katana, but the force of the blow is so strong that the ground under it sags from pressure, and he falls to one knee to withstand this brutal onslaught. And yet the forces are not equal. The shaman's warrior misses a cutting attack. The wound. It is transferred to the body of the hostess, who falls to the ground, spitting out blood clots. Ancient Year declares that he will never forgive people and ghosts for colluding. The girl isn't. She understands why the deity only blames her for all her sins, because how can God be wrong? A guilty man who doesn't know what his mother's heart is like right now. Is it possible to consider the protection of a child's sin? The deity points out that Ko Young-jae still hasn't regained consciousness, and he's just trying to save her life. Spitting blood, with tears in her eyes, the shaman does not understand how a mother must live after leaving her own child to perish. She'd rather kill myself. The deity says that if this is her wish, then he will gladly fulfill it. By raising. Perhaps the mother sees condescension in her child's eyes. She doesn't like being looked at like that. She just wanted him to get a taste of life, and to know it as well as he did. He did it for her. The girl recalls how she got pregnant, how a dear man took care of her, but everything was over. The deity in her son's body raises the sword above his head, intending to cut it off. The life of a shaman, however, is suddenly filled with life in Nakbin's eyes. It turns to God's essence, and with tears in his eyes begs not to do it. An ancient god can't. He couldn't believe what was happening, because it had robbed him of all his strength, but he was able to regain his sanity. The boy comes to the defense of his mother, covering her with his body. Chapter 1-4. Nakbin addresses the ancient deity as a grandfather, asking him not to do so. The same one hangs over him, calling him a scoundrel. The hero trembles with horror, and before his eyes welling up tears, but even so, he doesn't back down. Suddenly, the deity starts laughing loudly. This surprises both the child and his mother. It turns out that no one has ever called the ancient god that before, so in the end, it's just a matter of time. There are no more brave people in the world like Nakbin. The essence notes, in the clear eyes of the child burns confidence, and yet no one has looked at him. With that look in his eyes, it's kind of funny that a kid like him is a child of the prophecy. Ancient Ones. God declares that he can't wait to see what path he chooses. The creature reports that his eyes had saved him, so they would see each other again. He disappears, and his mother says that he was able to overcome a big obstacle. After that, she goes into a bloody cough. The child runs up to, asking if mom was okay. The girl mentally notes that the internal injuries from the fight was more serious than she'd thought. She understands that Nakbin's power has been awakened, but now it is extremely weak. She is afraid that someone will attack them at this time, because if the child does not, if she can develop her strength, she will live in constant worry. She doesn't understand how this one works. The kid will be able to pass all these difficult tests by himself. Some time passes. The shaman enters the temple inside the house and, having taken up a prayer request, he prays to the gods of heaven and earth that they will fly to their pure light and help to eradicate evil. Nakbin looks out from behind the door, addressing his mother. The woman has bags under her eyes, and her skin a little pale. The boy continues to feel the terrifying energy around him, and it seems that it is still there. It's getting stronger and stronger. He's shaking with fear. The girl notes that he came to them, an uninvited guest, and she tries to block his energy spread. But it's useless, so she needs to prepare for battle again. The hero nervously reminds that quite recently she was hurt because of him, and the woman asks the child to come to her. For a while, she couldn't give him a proper hug. Her baby is so small, but the world is so cruel to him because he couldn't even hug his mother. Nakbin hugs his mother and starts screaming that it was all because of him. The same one asks him not to blame because all the blame lies with her. Here the boy abruptly opens his eyes, declaring that he has a good solution. He asks to summon Grandpa Jui, ask him to deal with it, because Grandpa is very strong, just like a demon. The mother states that this is outrageous because he doesn't yet have the strength to deal with God, and if he does it again, summon someone equally powerful, it can consume their mind and take their soul. In this case, the boy will lose himself and become a slave of God, and even if she did summon him, they are unlikely to listen to them. The shaman decides to find out if the god he has summoned is back. If he tries to kill his mother, can the boy stop him? The mother notices that it will be inevitably. However, if this is true and he dies, then what will the mother do? The woman takes her son's cheeks in her hands, noting that this is why she says they can't summon it. To do this, he needs to grow up and train a lot, and now he needs someone who it will help. The shaman says that even if evil spirits come, she will stop them. The child should trust her and not worry about it, because he had never seen a demon that surpassed her before. Mother, she wipes away the tears on her child's cheeks, and he still decides to ask if dad is dead. The woman freezes in place, and the child remembers her words that she said that her father, he was just a tool. Nakbin asks if his father died because of him. My mother hugs me again. My son, saying that everything is completely wrong and he is wrong. She decides to tell him the story. A long time ago, she also received a prophecy that a great ancient god would appear. She had nowhere to go. For a long time, she was harassed by those who coveted her power. She barely managed to survive. She couldn't speak a human language because she'd never been able to. I taught him. Those who saw her called her the child of the beast. It was then that she first met his father. He taught her everything. He was insistent on teaching her the language and manners. Thanks to him, she was able to live like a normal person. Human. Soon they fell in love and began to find their similarities. For the first time, she knew what it was. Happiness. And then something terrible happened. She killed him. Chapter 1-5. He sacrificed himself to stop those who were chasing her, so he died because of her. Laying her head on top of her son's head, the woman said that she was not afraid of death because she had already died. She was supposed to die once, but she's not in a hurry to retire either because she can't quit. Your little one alone in this cruel world. Nakbin threw himself into the arms of the closest one, a person, mentally noting that despite this, he still wants to protect his mother. The shaman is glad that her son understood everything, so she asks him to return to his room. The boy did. It is received when leaving the room. When the child leaves, the woman gets to her feet and goes to the chest of drawers. Opening the drawer, she pulls out a folder. It's a small box. The demons come here because they see how weak she is, so this time, she's the only one who's ever seen her. The truth can't guarantee that it can survive. But do not worry, because it will. Next to Nakbin, even if he dies, she will definitely protect her child. She ask your lover for forgiveness by picking up the box. At the same time, the hero enters his own room. He drops to the floor with a heavy sigh. He puts his hands together in a prayer gesture and asks Dong Ya to help them, because something bad is coming. A girl his age appears in the white haze. She says she can't fight, and he asks why he shouldn't call Grandpa Baekdu and ask him. Nakbin explains that his mother told him not to call on the gods out of carelessness. The girl explains that Grandpa is his spirit guardian, so it's okay and there shouldn't be any scary god like last time. The boy is a little surprised by this, but then puts his hands together in a prayer gesture, asking God, the ancestor of the Baekdu people, should show up, because he has a request for him. The essence of an ancient deity. It appears. It knows immediately that the demons are coming, and that they are so close, and it doesn't know either whether he can handle them. Hearing such words, the boy declares that then he will not be able to. They needed to interfere, but what would they do if he knew everything? The deity reports that everything is wrong. It's so simple, because he is very strong and angry, and his mother is badly injured. If that's the case, if it continues, then he loses. This surprises Nakbin. The ancient god explains that recently she summoned Jiang Su-shin and Kim Shin, using up the energy accumulated over 10 years and 10 years. My life, so it was a stupid decision. The boy grabs the clothes of his grandfather, asking, save his mom. The ancient god replies that there is only one way, but he can't say for sure if he can. Boy, do it. The hero together with the girl climbs into some team. He notices that he will be scolded if they'll know he's here. The girl does not understand what her friend is going through, because all this is for her. Help. The same one asks only not to tell him that she was never scared when her mom. I was angry. She just shakes her head negatively, noting that there are quite a lot of books here. Therefore, she does not understand how to find them exactly Chigvito, because it turns out that she needs to view every single book. After some time, the boy, according to the words, stumbles upon Chigvito. The girl is surprised that he can read Chinese characters. Nakbin admits that he studied a little earlier. The boy wonders where he could have put his valuables, and then notices a small door. A friend, following his gaze, urges him to open it as soon as possible. By opening her, the hero discovers a velvet-colored box without a lock. As soon as he touches her, it's all over her body. A current discharge passes. Nakbin falls to the floor with the item. The girl flies up to him, asking what was wrong and if he was okay. The hero notices that something has touched his hand. By noticing, instead, he claims that she hit him. He remembers seeing what his mom put in there. She read the book and cast a spell. The girl asks if this doesn't mean that the book inside is very important. Boy confirms that Chigvito might be here, but the box is painful to touch. So how? Open it then. He asks for advice from his guardian, who immediately appears. The old man. She notices that she is guarded by dark spirits, so it is difficult to solve this by force. It calls broadly. Open the door, and the hero asks not to tell his mother about everything. He agrees. As soon as the doors open and light hits the box, and the evil spirits immediately evaporate. The ancient god explains that thieves only come at night, so a guard was put up in the person of the Dark Ones, spirits that feed on darkness. They won't notice him, since there's no lock, but his mother is very happy with him. Wise. As soon as Nakbin pulls out a book and starts reading it, the girl asks how it is and what it says so. The boy replies that he does not know, because it is very difficult. It was only recently that he found hope, so was there really nothing he could do? A burst of energy hits the sky. The hero finds himself in a dark space where the unknown, the entity, begins to talk to him, noting that he who has great potential needs his power, then he should find it where the water is bubbling. Nakbin abruptly returns to reality, breaking into a run. The girl flies after him, not understanding where he is going. He suggests that we talk first, and the boy, without slowing down, says that the voice told him to go where the water is bubbling. The hero feels that this is the only way to save his mother. At that time, the bus stops at a stop, dropping off one passenger. Boy looking out the window. He notices that this is the first time he's ever seen anyone come out here. Grandma understands what he's saying about a strange young lady. On the face of the latter reigns a terrible grin, and the grandmother wonders, why did she come to this place? Chapter 1-6. A dark spirit moves through the forest. As soon as his bare feet touch the ground, the grass starts to rot. It stops abruptly, turning its attention to a small house standing among the trees. Evil entity notes that it is here. At this time, Nakbin climbs up the slope to the top, clinging with his hands for the grass. The girl praises him, noting that she did not know that there are rocks here, and asking what he would do without her. The boy takes a deep breath, thanking him for his help. The girl reports that she is always on his side. The hero remembers her help. She just shouted and motivated him. Go upstairs. He even praises her for this, and then takes a sitting position, realizing that they had come because this is the place that Chigvito was talking about. Huge waterfall hits stream from a great height. The girl doubts that this is the right place because she thought that this is a common place with water. Nakbin explains that at the same time as saying this, I felt the energy and followed it. The boy leans over the water, not knowing what to do next. He notices that there is something about this waterfall. He wonders if he should dive, because there's a lot of water in there. Deep. A friend suggests that he first touch the gizmos with his fingertips. He starts to reach out, but the stone cliff does not stand up to this and collapses, which is why Nakbin begins to fall into the water. The hero begins to sink to the bottom under the worried screams of the girl. There she meets him, a divine entity, noticing that Jinyoung had come here after all. Unknown, it appears. He is a god who has lived in this valley for over 1,000 years. Jinan, the name of a person. In Taoism, Buddhism, which is concerned with training their abilities, the hero is not understands what the other person is talking about. The entity explains that Chikvito knew about his serious injuries. That's why I brought him to her, and if the boy needs power, then he should ask her for it. This, Nakbin states that he needs the power so that he can defeat the demon without a god, because he is a demon. He promised not to rely on the gods just yet. The goddess explains that this power, which can be used without a strong god, the entity's eyes begin to glow scarlet, and it declares that it knows what he wants. This is her territory, and he is a very welcome vessel for her, so if she takes this body, then he can get out of this valley. The hero realizes that he needs to run. From here, the boy tries to swim to the surface, but the purple energy entangles his leg, starting to pull to the bottom. The goddess asks him to dive into the water and relax, because right before, when she died, she would take over his body, and he would fall into a deep, eternal sleep. From the mouth of Nakbina begins. Bubbles pop out, and he himself is aware, he begins to suffocate. At this time, opposite the candles and icon on his knees is his mother. Her body is still shaking, and her skin is pale as chalk. She squeezes her hand in a tight circle, a fist, not knowing if she could handle it. She puts on her usual clothes, afraid the consequences of her defeat, so she decides that now is the best way out of the situation. Run with Nakbin. The mother starts calling out to her son, but when she doesn't hear an answer, she scans the area for his name. Presence. Her eyes widen as she doesn't feel the child's energy. It assumes that with something has happened to him again, but the worst thing will be if he is swallowed up by God. There's a gate here. It opens, and the shaman turns around, realizing that an uninvited guest has arrived. Girl. He is surprised that the enemy has taken possession of a human body. She can't figure out what kind of spirit it is, and why does she have such terrifying energy? The mother takes a fighting stance, preparing for battle. However, the monster releases its aura. It turns out that the appearance of the evil spirit was quite natural, justified. In the past, some shaman called on the villagers to kill their own neighbors because the ghosts wanted victims, and when they were satisfied, the village's harvest would increase. Poor people were buried alive, and one of them called on his comrades to sanity, claiming that these are all shamanic tricks, and she said she would sacrifice them to build up her strength. It's like this. I was angry that the shaman's word was more important than a human life, that he remembered this insult. He did not leave the shaman's family and other relatives alone, so that she would regret what she had done. Created it. The entity is eager to devour her soul before she reaches the Buddha. Hero's mother. He falls to his knees. Her body trembles as awareness dawns. Malice joined in. The ghost of the snake. In addition, the body has served to strengthen this connection, and this terrible resentment against Shamana is about to be released. Chains appear behind the evil spirit's back, and he declares that Shamanka smells very good. The entity wants to show everyone what it can do. Out of the ground, the dead rise, their bodies already partially decomposed to the bone. They are wrapped around chains of the evil spirit. This phenomenon makes the shaman horrified. It turns out that all these are the souls of shamans who died at her hands. They are dragged around like puppets. One of the shamanesses, dressed like Nakbin's mother, approaches her. She asks me to help her. There's nothing she can do. The girl clenches her teeth until they creak, then blows her own. Kalakalov dispels the silhouette opposite. She is angry because they are using an illusion against her, and she doesn't understand how dark spirits dare fool a god's disciple. It calls God to come to you. Her light strikes from the sky. One of the gods, a young man in armor and a spear, comes down to the shaman's call to help. To her in this matter, the dark entity smiles menacingly, saying that this power will not help her, right? And soon that power will be hers. The hero's mother notes that she is not to blame for the harm caused to her, so why should she pay for it? Meanwhile, a girl on the beach is trying to figure out why the guy doesn't pop up, because he's a good swimmer. Considering how much the boy has already spent under with water, a normal person would have drowned by now. Realizing this, she is about to dive in after him. However, Nakbin just flies out of the water, pushing her friend away. He lands on the grass, and the girl, she asks if he is okay, but she feels that something has happened to the boy. His view and the aura changed. Chapter 1-7. The girl throws a pebble at the boy, calling on the water god to bring back Nakbin. A pebble, it hits the hero's forehead, and he yells loudly, asking what's gotten into her girlfriend languidly. She exhales, saying she thought he was possessed. The hero clarifies whether she could not understand this, not. By doing this, the interviewee answers very clumsily, noticing that he has become so clumsy, and It used to be very calm, but it also gives off an aura of humidity and coolness, which means that reminds her of water. Her friend wants to know what he got, so she encourages him to tell her. Oh, Nakbin tells her that he will tell her, but first she needs to let go. It repels the girl's hands, and she can't wait to hear the story. However, as soon as the guy starts talking about meeting the water god, a bright flash appears behind his back, which attracts attention. It comes from his house. The hero looks around, not understanding what is happening there, but remembering that his mother is there now. His girlfriend urges him to hurry up, forgetting about his interest in the story. The hero asks for a little wait for your mom, breaking into a run. At this time, on the site in front of the house begins a woman's battle with God against the evil spirit that controls the souls of other shamans. The boy's mother declares that they must free the souls of these shamans, so she orders a god to attack her body. The god raises the spear above his head, knocking out 2 opponents. The mistress calls him to attack the opponent. The general executes the order. He gets close to the spirit and raises his spear over the ground. Head, about to bring down a crushing blow to the dark entity, but the enemy substitutes. One of the puppets was hit by a god. This puts a girl in a stupor who does not understand how she is doing. I could have done it. In the next instant, she looks around, seeing the other dead shamans surrounding her. The girl realizes that she was caught off guard. Attacks from several opponents at once fall on the hero's mother. A huge cloud of dust rises, and when she opens her eyes, she sees the general covering her with his body. He urges her to run away from here. She begs him not to leave. However, it evaporates. The evil spirit laughs, saying that God died in her stead, and this is just the beginning. Proves that shamans are one disappointment. According to the embittered entity, they lead to the deaths of gods and humans, so they are no different from it. The girl notices that she knows nothing about them at all, because she is the one who disturbs the disciples of God because of her resentment, and she knows why General God sacrificed himself. At this moment, a white snake wraps around the shaman's body. It's funny for a dark entity to watch an enemy fight. Freaking out, guessing her location, Nakbin's mother notices the girl's silhouette, but quickly realizes that it is Prorak and she is shackled. The body, so it's just a pathetic shell. A huge snake declares that it will devour the girl in its entirety. Teeth bite through the shaman's shoulder, causing a painful cry. She's crying, but now there is no general to help her, so she decides to gather her remaining forces. The white snake, it lights up with a blue flame, releasing its prey. The woman falls to the ground, bleeding profusely. The evil snake spirit shakes its head, gradually coming to its senses. The shaman understands that even if she had used all of Chigvito's strength, she wouldn't have been able to defeat her, so all she had to do was take on Chigvito, collect the remaining energy and blow it up with you. Before her death, the mother remembers her child. The evil spirit is fully recovered. When she opens her mouth, she pounces on the girl, saying that it's her turn to die. The white snake is interrupted by a water arrow that no one expected. A hero enters the yard, together with a friend. The mother asks her son to immediately run away from here, mentally not understanding why. Just now, he came. There are tears in her eyes, and she begs him not to come here. The same one says that you're welcome. The boy steps forward and passes his mother. He's confident. He stands in front of her and resolutely tells her that he is going to save his mother. Chapter 1-8. The snake's evil spirit does not take the child seriously, claiming that it will swallow and not notice it, so he will suffer a painful death. Nakbin notes that he is not afraid of her. It releases several water arrows at once. Snakeyuku howled in pain, but inwardly she looked surprised. He realizes that he can't move. She doesn't understand what kind of power this boy has, so she decides to find another way. The evil spirit returns to the girl's body and pulls on the chains, calling on his puppets to stop him. The shaman quickly tells her son that she controls the puppets, so he can't give them to her. Use your hands. The hero accepts the advice, after which, concentrating the power in the form of water, the ball on the hand brings down a stream of water on the opponent, which simply breaks the chains of the spirit. The opponent falls to her knees, but Nakbin doesn't stop there. He invokes the power of water around the girl and imprisons her in a water ball. The boy wants his enemy to know fear, suffocate underwater. The dark entity is angry, and the hero realizes that it is strong, so it is not a good idea. Attacks can be dangerous. He again directs the water in the direction of the opponent, but she is in the right direction. pull the chains, causing the two dolls to shield her from two water arrows. Nakbin clutches his head, realizing they're not ghosts. The entity declares that it has arrived. Time to finish off the shamans. The hero grabs his head, assuming that it controls entities. People. The mother tries to convey the idea to her son that this is just an illusion, and that he is not. He can kill them. He only needs to see how they disappeared, but the hero is deeply immersed in himself because he thinks he killed them. Then an unfamiliar voice snaps him out of it. Two young people thank the young shaman for getting their freedom. Disappearing. The most peaceful freedom compared to the evil spirit's bonds, so they have no more regrets. Shamans ask you not to worry about them and focus on the enemy because he still has to defeat this evil spirit and save the people. His mother puts her hand on his shoulder and then hugs him to her, saying that these children are the same. The poor souls found eternal peace, and he did everything possible for their good. The boy is the same. He thinks he could have saved them, like he's stronger. The woman notices that it's not that she's not a good person. He does not know what he feels, but that he must accept the will of the departed and not blame himself. The next moment, the woman is being forcibly dragged away from Nakbin. He looks around and sees himself, a loved one, in the teeth of a huge white snake. His whole body is shaking. At this time, the box in the shaman's room breaks off from its place, starting to move by itself. The ground cracks under the hero's feet. He takes off, shouting, "How dare she!" At that time, a friend pulls out the body of a wounded shaman, noticing that it was dangerous. Out of the ground, stormy water flows break out, which it sends to the enemy. The guy notices that it won't go away. A strange blue ball flies out of the house and stops right in front of him. Then his mother gets up on all fours. She begs her son not to use his anger as a force, otherwise he will be eaten by him. He believes that Nakbin is better than that, so he will be able to stay calm. The white snake. She climbs out of the rocks under which she was almost buried. It focuses in its mouth, an energy that spreads out in red lightning bolts around the area, then attacks the enemy. A small shaman, but he manages to put up a water barrier in response. Protection starts gradually crack, which the child notices. It turns out that the opponent has transformed her tongue in a sharp blade. Nakbin manages to hold on, mentally asking for help from someone. On call, a blue light responds to the boy. He flies up to the red blade, pressing from the creature's mouth on the hero's barrier, and begins to pull. Nakbin asks him to leave, fearing that he will be forced to leave as well. They'll destroy it. The blue ball is converted into blue energy, which helps to contain the onslaught. Enemy saying something to the guy in an unknown language. He decides to accept help, but still fight. Together with him, he thanks you in advance for your help. The boy releases his power, and from behind him, an image of a person appears, which helps him push through the monster. A sword created by the evil one. It seems to crack, and then completely breaks down. The tip of its blade pierces into the flesh of the white snake, which starts to squeal in pain. The creature falls to the ground, not believing that she will die at the hands of the shaman, because with all this great power, it is impossible for her to survive. By force, he was still able to take revenge on her. The white snake dissolves, as if it had never been there before. In this world, Nakbin catches his breath, remembering that his mother once said that in the future, there will be such people. There will only be more bad guys. Then his girlfriend calls him, urging him to come quickly. The boy sees a mother who lost consciousness and bled to death. Chapter 1-9. Nakbin runs to his mother, dropping to his knees in front of her. A friend also reports that his mother she ran out of energy, which could cause her to die. The boy starts to cry. He's slowing his mother down. She grabs him by the shoulders, asking him to wake up, and then turns to Dong Ya, begging him to help or do something. The girl sadly replies that she does not have such power. The hero cries, unable to hold back your tears, but suddenly the same blue light appears. He shares. Part of the strength is with the dying woman, healing her wounds partially. The girl wakes up and sees her son. He asks if she's okay because he thought that something was wrong with her. The shaman reports that she is fine, although she does not know what happened. The boy explains that this light helped him defeat the evil spirit and restored its energy. That's why it's so weak right now. A woman cries as she picks up a light and thanks for the help. Then he remembers that they've never met before. She asks to say hello, a child with his father. This surprises him to the core. Mother says that she couldn't say it, but he was there for her all the time, even though his soul had split apart during her rescue. This light, in the end, even saved his life. The hero asks again in bewilderment. It turns out that this light is his dad. The boy decides that he has to tell her something. The hero confesses that he read Chigvito and then met the water god and gained his power. The words put a woman in a stupor, clearly not ready for something like this. He was afraid when, as he was drowning, a conversation with his mother popped up in his head. So I asked if my son knew the meaning. Your name. When she became pregnant with him, she traveled from place to place, and one day, I saw white spray splashing under the waterfall. It felt like a waking dream. There with his father, they were so moved that they immediately chose a name for him. Waterfall means Nakbin, shining water. Strong as a waterfall, and sometimes flowing like a gentle river and saves lives. She hoped that it will live like water. It was then that the boy opened his eyes in the water. It was surrounded by a semi-transparent doll. When this happened, the water goddess stated that she couldn't believe that he had pushed her power away. She apologized for this because she just wanted to make sure that he could overcome it. Future tests. The guy said it was okay. Also, she now realized that Chigvito brought him to this place in response to Kodadama on his behalf. This surprises the hero a little, but then a smile appears on his face because his mom and dad gave him this name, Waterfall. Back in Radiance Bin, the water goddess noted that their encounter was inevitable, for she would teach him, handle the water that is destined for him. My mother cried at this story because these are the words that she and his answer put into that name. The boy touches the blue light, feeling the warmth he felt during the fight. It's a feeling. Infinite peace was a father's love. The boy cries, saying that he really wanted to meet him. The fire expands, taking on the human form of a man and embracing its owner. To the child and his beloved. At night, the hero's mother calls a strange man. She apologizes for calling without warning, and the man notices that she has nothing to worry about. Because the lack of news is good news, as he believes. Unknown asks what it is. She explains that something happened that made her sad. The other person stiffens up, understanding that this is a prophecy. The girl confirms his guesses, adding that one of the evil spirits have already sensed this, so she wants them to take care of him before it will become even more dangerous. A few days pass. The hero learns the magic of water, noticing that this power is really strong. Powerful. Mom told him that she only taught him the basics, so how strong is he? He can become one if he continues to study Chigvito. Then the mother brings her son food on a tray. He is surprised, because there are so many things that he likes. The girl, realizing that the child, if he is hungry, he asks him to start eating as soon as possible. He asks his mother to eat first, but she doesn't. She refuses, justifying it by saying that she still has things to do. She leaves with tears in her eyes, and Nakbin starts eating. Last night, his mother said she'd found a teacher to help him with his homework. Training sessions. The woman asks her son to follow the path that is prepared for him, to accept all the gods with her. Earnestness and learn, illuminate the dark world and heal those in distress as he saved. His mother and his father saved him, so now he has to save the world. The boy admits that he's still afraid, and there's a doubt in him that he can handle it. Nakbin rubs his eyes and feels something unusual. The feeling is similar to what it was before. Therefore, he assumes that another evil spirit has come to them. The guy in the plaid shirt, in jeans and a cap, he stops at the entrance to their territory. He takes a deep breath, but the hero doesn't. It breaks down, preparing to use its water power. He asks to wait, but the boy is already there. Released his water attack. The adult is knocked off his feet and lands on the ground. Nakbin. She rushes over to him, apologizing for her haste and asking if he's okay. Being in a puddle of water, he gives a long positive answer, after which he still turns his gaze. Her child. He says hello and asks if his name is Nakbin. The guy has blonde hair, dark green eyes,